Marketers and brands need to pay close attention to what's going on with OpenClaw. OpenClaw is essentially an agent that runs on your computer and can do things. So for example, it can surf the web or open your email or organize your desktop. It can actually physically interact with your system. It comes back to a fundamental truth I've been talking about, that generative AI fundamentally changes the way that we interact with technology. This started with AI engine optimization, right? Like the end of SEO as we know it. Well, this next stage is even more interesting, right? Because on OpenClaw, I'm talking to my OpenClaw via WhatsApp. So I go on WhatsApp and I say, hey, can you go on my LinkedIn and interact with these posts? Can you organize my desktop? I'm talking to my machine through WhatsApp. It's a fundamental change in how we work with technology. So OpenClaw is a way to subvert complexity and get to your end result faster, whatever that end result may be. It's a really good way to bypass bad user experience. What does this mean for brands? Your website, your user experience may not be the place where you can demonstrate your value anymore. Like your brand is not your UX. And the more friction that you have built into that UX, the more difficult it's going to be to survive in this agentic like Gen AI world. But ultimately, the value that you provide as a brand or a company, whether that's through information or software, has to survive these processes. So your narrative has to be able to surface itself through OpenClaw, right? So if you can imagine, right, like if I tell OpenClaw to do research on the web, you have to make sure that your narrative survives from what OpenClaw finds on the web to what gets surfaced in the OpenClaw interface. And that's a whole new world. So that might mean that, that AI engine optimization that you've been doing is even more important. Right? Which is different than surfacing through, ChatGPT or something. So can your narrative, can your brand story survive that trip? Or are there pieces of friction in the middle? Now, if your brand is about doing something like booking trips or providing some sort of software value, guess what? That friction is going to become a problem as well, right? Like if I go on my WhatsApp and say, please book a trip on the website, and there's too much friction there, the OpenClaw is going to find a better way to go about that. So you have to look at the friction that you're providing. So the question for brands is, what is it that you want people to know and do on your website? When I talk about know, just imagine a world where somebody's on WhatsApp and they ask WhatsApp, hey, can you go search the web to find XYZ? And it's going to come back with answers. So is your narrative strong enough to survive the journey from your website into the OpenClaw, into my WhatsApp? Like, that's a really big question now. And secondly, if your website is about doing something, right? Like if you're trying to get people to book something or buy something, can you buy that through the OpenClaw? Or is there friction built into that process? This is why there's so much work ahead for marketers. If you're looking at AI only as a tool of efficiency, you're looking at it wrong, because the battlefield that you're competing on now is more complex than it's ever been. And you need to be able to allow customers to do things and know things without going through the traditional hurdles that you put up in front of them. You need to allow this accessibility to your brand and to the actions that it creates if you want to maintain any sort of value in this new world. And that's a serious shift in strategic thinking. And that means there's a lot ahead of us to build. That means that if AI is going to take our jobs, there's going to be a whole lot of new jobs building systems that can actually operate in an OpenClaw world.